been a whole year. I can't believe it. I survived an entire year on YouTube. Hey there, it's Jackie from Jet Setting with Jackie. If this is your first time here, welcome. And if you're returning, thank you so much for coming back. In this week's video, I'm taking a break from my European tour because this week, or on the 13th of February, will be my 1 year of making videos for YouTube on a consistent basis. In honor of my 1 year, I am going to do something a little bit different. I kind of have some talking points that I want to cover in this video. So it is unscripted. There's not much written down, which is typically how a lot of my videos go, but this one in particular, I just decided to sit down a little bit ago and just film everything that comes to my mind and then take my time and edit it so that it makes sense. So since it's my 1 year anniversary being on YouTube making these videos, I wanted to address the audience that watch my return and resident videos, things that have to do particularly to Jamaica and coming back and living here. I want to say shout out to you guys. Thank you so much for watching the videos, sharing it, and asking me questions. I have spent the last year really hearing other people's story, where they are in their journey, as well as sharing my experience and providing any sort of feedback or information that I possibly can. In saying that, I also wanted to discuss a bit about the new project that I worked on, which is a return and residence guide. The link to my website where you can download the guide that will help you with that process will be in the description box below. I'll also show the link in the video just in case you just want to go and search for it. This really grew out of just suggestions and comments and questions that I've received from you guys, basically. I know a lot of you have reached out and asked me questions and even suggested that, you know, maybe I take on a more of a consultant role, and that's kind of exactly what I decided to do this year. Since I've been through the process and I've built a lot of relationships in Jamaica now, I do feel like I'm at the point where I can be much more of an assistant to people who are looking to come back to Jamaica. So it doesn't matter where in your journey you are, whether you just thought of coming to Jamaica, or you're at the point where you've completed your application, or you've started working on your shipment. It doesn't matter where you are in the process. If you're looking for some sort of guidance or some information, some contacts, I am going to be launching my consulting business so that I can help make your transition to Jamaica a smooth and simple one. I know when I was looking to return to Jamaica, it wasn't the simplest process, mainly because there wasn't a lot of resources out there for me to, you know, reach out to or really ask for advice. It was more so I watched some videos of other YouTubers, one in particular, Anisha Adams. I remember watching her videos when she relocated from Canada to Jamaica, but I think our situations were a bit different. There were certain things that I knew I wasn't going to get from her videos. One of the examples would be actually shipping my container. I could not find a video on YouTube that addressed that issue when I needed it. So I felt like I needed to fill that gap for someone else who probably is looking for the same thing that I was looking for, which, just looking at the videos and how, you know, they've been utilized so far, I realized that there was that need for it. With that being said, if you are in the process of trying to relocate to Jamaica and you just need someone to hold your hand through the process, or you need someone to have some boots on the ground to help you through it, or you need someone to give you that information that you're looking for, I'm going to be that person that can provide that guidance, that assistant hand, and make your life a lot easier, because you don't have to go through all the stresses that I had to go through. You don't have to do as much of the research that I had to research. So I'm here to make your life easier. About a month ago, I asked in a poll how many people were looking to return to Jamaica. I also asked the question to kind of gauge everyone's understanding of what the return and residence process is, and if they have questions, or they're good, or they have no idea where to start. So the reason for me doing that was because I have created a return and residence guide. The guide is an overview of exactly what the return and residence process is, how it came about, who created it, how to benefit from it, who can benefit from it. So all of the questions that would initially come to mind when you are thinking about returning to Jamaica, the guide will kind of help you as a first step. I've also created the checklist that will allow you to see exactly what it is that you're able to import onto the island and how many of each item is allowed duty-free. So anything else in excess of that amount, you know, you could possibly be charged duty on. So with the guide and the checklist, I think that's a good start for anyone that's looking to relocate to Jamaica. So the first thing that you can do if you know that you want to return to Jamaica is head over to my website, www.jetsettingwithjackie.com. Under the product store, you will see the links for the return and residence guide and also a checklist. But of course, there's going to be persons who don't necessarily know where to start, or maybe you just want someone to walk you through the process, help you create a roadmap of what it should look like, help you find a shipper, help you find a broker, help you with whatever it is that comes to your mind. Maybe you need help finding a place to live here in Jamaica, but you're overseas and you can't make it to a showing. That's what I'm here for. Or if you have a project that you just want some eyes on, that's what I'm here for. I'm here to assist you in your transition back to Jamaica. So I will be your return and residence guide, your consultant, your point person. Whatever it is that you need, we can discuss it and we can figure out how to create a plan and a roadmap to get you back home to Jamaica. I understand this is not going to be a one-size-fits-all type of situation because everyone is different. Everyone's process is going to look a little bit different. So whatever it is that is unique to your situation, we can always discuss it and figure out how to make this process for you as simple, as inexpensive, and as smooth as possible. I honestly wish that there was a me for me to turn to when I was looking to transition to Jamaica, because I know there are so many mistakes that I've made. There are so many lessons that I had to learn the hard way. I'm sure if you watch my YouTube videos, I've discussed a lot of them. So because I've done it and because I know what I went through, I can help you avoid some of those same pitfalls that I went through. Okay, so this portion is going to be about, is it safe to live in Jamaica? Of course, we've all seen the travel advisory that came out recently. So there's a lot of questions going around about whether it's safe to live in Jamaica or whether it's safe to visit Jamaica. I get those questions in my DMs sometimes on Instagram, or I might hear it from someone when I tell them that I live in Jamaica. Is Jamaica safe? So I've been living here since July of 2020. My battery died. Okay, so I think I left off at, is it safe to live in Jamaica, or is it safe to visit Jamaica? And I get that question pretty often, and my answer is always a resounding yes. It is safe to live in Jamaica. It is safe to travel to Jamaica. I've been living here now since July of 2021, and I have not felt safer living anywhere else. And I've lived in the US for the past 27 years, I think it was. Yeah, 27 years. I've not felt as safe in the US as I feel in Jamaica. The reason being, there's so many different aspects of living in the US that scares me, that when I live here in Jamaica, I don't have to think about those things. Like, I never have to worry about getting shot by the police because I'm a black woman. I don't have to worry about being in a grocery store and a church or a nail salon or a mall or any of those simple places that we all frequent. I don't have to worry about being shot in any of those places. Yes, there's violence everywhere. Yes, there's chances of things happening here in Jamaica. There's a chance of things happening anywhere in the world that you go to. I'm just saying from my perspective that being in Jamaica, to me, is a lot safer than being in the US. There's crimes in the US. There's places in the US that I would not visit or I would stay away from just because I know what happens there. It's the same experience here in Jamaica. There are certain places that I'm not going to go to because I know it's probably not in my best interest if I want to be safe. So some things are avoidable and some things are unavoidable. For the ones that are avoidable, I avoid them. So do I go out all the time? No, but I also didn't do that in the US either. But I also wasn't afraid that if I went to do normal things here in Jamaica, that I was going to get killed. I know that sounds a little dramatic, but I do think whenever I hear those things, or I get that question, or you read things online that paints Jamaica in such a negative light, it always baffles me because I'm like, I feel safer in Jamaica than I do when I'm in the US. In Jamaica, I never have to worry about being discriminated against because of the color of my skin. That's never been an issue here. In the US, I've definitely experienced things that were basically because I'm black. I've been held on a sidewalk by police because my friends and I fit the description of some people that were stealing from a store. I've had to stand on the sidewalk and wait to be identified or not identified. That's never happened to me in Jamaica. So these are real things that I thought about personally before I chose to come and live here. Jamaica is as safe as you choose to be. If you put yourself in situations or if you create issues for yourself, then most likely you're going to be in situations that you don't want to be in. But keep to yourself. Mind your business. Don't go to places that you shouldn't be. I'm a Jamaican, like I said, and there's a lot of places that I do not go. Or if I have to go somewhere and I have to go by myself, I put it off until I can go with someone else. Because I want to make sure that, one, as a female, I feel safe. So if I need to go with someone else to keep me company, I'm going to wait. But I would do the same thing if I was in the US, or I would do the same thing if I was in Europe, or if I was in Asia, or if I was in Africa. It wouldn't matter where I am. As a female and as a woman, as a female and as a woman, as a female, there's a lot more precautions that we think about before we do things. So there isn't anything that is more unsafe being in Jamaica than it is being in the US. That's been my experience. I can't say that that's everyone else's experience, but is Jamaica safe? Is it safe to visit? Is it safe to live? 100%. It is no different than living in any other country in the world. There aren't people just running through neighborhoods with guns in Jamaica and you're just terrified to go anywhere. That's not been my experience at all. If anything, Jamaican people, we are all some of the nicest people that you will meet, especially to tourists. So you can feel safe coming to Jamaica. No questions about that. It's safe here. Hope that answers the question. I tried my best to give it my honest thoughts and my honest feelings. So as a Jamaican that's been living here for the past few years, why should you come back home? Well, for one, I'm not in agreement with the way that things are going in the world. And as a Jamaican, I particularly want to build a life here in my home country because you just never know what's going to happen in the world around us. I'm a US citizen, but I'm a naturalized citizen. That was not the country I was born in. I was born in Jamaica. And at the rate that things are going politically, you never know when someone might decide that the new rule is if you weren't born in this country, you got to go. So my thought process has always been, I'm a naturalized citizen. At the end of the day, when I look at my US passport, it says place of birth, Jamaica. So even in my US passport, it still identifies me as a Jamaican. So I will always take that as Jamaica is home. So if I get kicked out of the US at any point, I have to go back to Jamaica. So my goal in life is to make Jamaica my home. So whatever that means to you or anyone else, take it for what it's worth. You were born in Jamaica. Jamaica is home. One thing about home is you should always be welcome at home. There's no way Jamaica can tell the US that I can't come back here. If the US decides that they don't want me anymore, guess who has to allow me to come back home? Jamaica. So let's all remember that Jamaica is home. Jamaica's home. So regardless of where in the world you go, whether you're in Europe, you're in Asia, you're in Australia, you're in Africa, you're in Antarctica, it doesn't matter where you are in the world, home is Jamaica. And if there's one thing that you can always do is come back home. So if you ever feel like you want to live a life of less stress, come back to Jamaica. If you want to just get away from the pressures of the world, come back to Jamaica. Don't you see other people coming to Jamaica to live? Why do you think they're coming here? Because of what we can provide them. So if other people are running away from their country, and trying to come here to get a little bit of the sunshine, for a little bit of that love that you feel when you step off the plane, whether it's Montego Bay or Kingston, and pretty soon Ian Fleming. If you know what that feels like, I know for me personally, when I step off that plane in Montego Bay, it's always a sense of, whew, I'm home. I am home. I don't know about y'all, but that is the best feeling in the world. Yes, Jamaica gets on my nerves sometimes. Yes, there's things that I'm like, this makes absolutely no sense. There's rules that we're like, this is from I don't know how many years ago. It don't apply in today's society, but we're still going by them. There's a lot of that here. But at the end of the day, it's still home. I would not trade Jamaica for nothing. I spent 3 weeks traveling Europe, and every single country that I went to, my cousin and she can vouch for this, when they ask where we're from, my answer is always Jamaica, because that's where I'm from. And the reaction that you get from people when you tell them that you're from Jamaica, you would be so surprised. Everybody that asked us where we were from and interacted with us and knew we were Jamaicans, instantly their attitude towards us changed. Yes, it sucks that that's what it took, but their attitude towards us as Jamaicans, totally different than what they first perceived when they looked at us. Our little island, with the 3+ million people that we have here, has so much impact on the rest of the world that we don't even realize the power that we have as Jamaicans. I was in Greece in a restaurant, and I want to share this in my video from when I do my video recap for all these countries. But Greece, the people in Greece embraced us so much in that restaurant. Like, we went in there and sat down and they served us and they were nice. But once the man started talking to us and asked us where we were from and found out we were Jamaican, he went and told everybody in the back of the restaurant we were Jamaican, and it was just a total different vibe towards us. It was like they were welcoming us to the family. It was so crazy. But we have so much impact for how small our island is. We don't even understand how valuable Jamaica is. And for those reasons, amongst others, we should really appreciate Jamaica. I was having a conversation with a family member yesterday, and we were talking about the perception that a lot of Jamaicans have when they've never been overseas versus someone who's traveled and came back and understand the reality of what living in another country is like. And I'm not gonna bash the US because I spent a lot of my childhood and adult life growing up in the US. There's a lot of things that the US has done for me that was beneficial to get me to this point. But at the same time, there's a lot of harsh realities that people in Jamaica don't necessarily understand about the US that maybe us that have lived there or currently live there and come and visit Jamaica don't necessarily paint a legitimate picture. Or it could just be the fact that people see something on TV and equate that to reality, and it's really not. Or it's what you see on social media, which we know social media does not always translate to real life. So for me, my views on it is always to bring the reality of what life is like in the US to anyone that I encounter. Just like I would give the reality of what living in Jamaica is like to someone who wants to come here. It's not all roses. It's not all fluff. There is a lot of frustration as a Jamaican living here, but it doesn't outweigh the frustrations that I had living in the US. I was way more stressed, I was way more frustrated, and I felt like I was way more unhealthy living in the US than I am in Jamaica. And that's the honest to God truth. I'm gonna stop ranting. Take what you can from this conversation. Hopefully it's valuable, and hopefully my experience and my perspective on things can help you understand what it is that I experience on a daily basis here. And of course, I plan to continue to provide you guys with honest truth and the real of living here in Jamaica. You can always expect that from me. I'm going to give you what it's really like. And there's so many things that I would like to do to help change some of the things that happen in Jamaica. It's just, sometimes it's very frustrating because it's like we're so stuck in the ways that things are done that we can't sometimes just think outside the box and change things. Like a lot of the times when someone gives me pushback on something that I'm like, this doesn't make any sense, there's another way that we could do this and do it better and more efficient, their response to me typically is, that's just how Jamaica is, or this is just how it's been. Just because this is how it's been doesn't mean that it needs to remain the same way. Some things, if it just doesn't make sense anymore, it just doesn't make sense anymore. We can change those things. We can fix a lot of things that just don't make sense. It's just my goal being here is to figure out how I can be more impactful in transitioning Jamaica forward and making things better, not just for myself, but for everyone else that comes along. There's so many things as a returning resident that I do feel could be so much better for us. There's things when it comes to business that I think could be changed. Right now, I'm in the process of working on a business here, and some of the roadblocks that I come across don't need to be roadblocks. And I'm going to work on figuring out how I can change these roadblocks so the next person that comes and wants to do the same thing that I'm doing don't have to go through this roadblock. I spent my childhood growing up around politics, and because of it, politics is a big part of my life. I'm big into politics. I love understanding what's going on in the US and also now in Jamaica, because at the end of the day, this is where home is. So I need to understand who does what it means for me as a citizen, etc. One of my thought process when I first came back was to possibly get into politics and make some sort of changes. But just the way that things have been going has definitely given me pause at times, because politics is not an easy game. And I question myself a lot of the times, like, is that something that I really want to sign myself up for? Is that something that I want to entertain? Is that something that I really want to take on? It gives me pause. just because of how I see things going. And it's not just in Jamaica. It's not just in the US. It's a global thing. I remember having a conversation with a couple guys on a train coming from Epernay to Paris. And they were just telling me about their struggles with their government and how their countries ran. And it's just a resounding chaos everywhere in the world. So as much as I would like to say it's the US or it's Jamaica, that just gave me proof sitting on that train for a couple hours that it ain't just us, it's everywhere. Everyone's feeling the crazy. Whew. I'm sorry guys, I feel like I just went on like a rant of a lifetime. I hope this video isn't so long, because that was a rant. That was a rant. And that wasn't intentional. I guess that's what happens when I just decide to just talk off the top of my head without like no real direction in my thought process. But I do feel like all of that information needed to get out. So there it is. Sorry for the word vomit. All right, so the next thing I wanted to touch on real quick is the cost of living in Jamaica. What's that like? How has it been for me? Well, to be honest, it's been a little expensive. And it's a little expensive by the choices that I make. Could it be a little cheaper? Absolutely. There's different levels of living and lifestyle that you can have in Jamaica. You can live like you live in the US, but you're going to pay the prices that you do when you live in the US. Jamaica is not cheap by any... It's not cheap. Living in Jamaica is not cheap. So I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, it's way more, it's way less expensive to live in Jamaica than it is to live in the US. No, it's not, especially right now where it's expensive to live everywhere for the most part around here. I will say though, there are things that I do find a bit less expensive here than it is in the US. For example, cable, internet, those living expenses are less here than it is in the US. Transportation, if it's public transportation, definitely cheaper than it is in the US. But I don't take public transportation in Jamaica, and that's by choice. I have a vehicle, so is it cheap to drive a vehicle here? No, because gas is way more expensive here than it is in the US. However, car insurance here is way cheaper than it is in the US. So there's little trade-offs as to what's cheaper and what's more expensive. If you want to live here and you want to rent a place, you can find places that are a bit less expensive to live in than it would be in the US. And then you can also find places that you're paying the same price to live in the house that you would be paying if you were renting a house in the US. In my experience, I rented a house over Richmond Estates, well, a few houses in Richmond Estates, and I was paying rent that is probably equitable to the rent that I would pay if I was in the US. When I moved into this house that I currently live in, the rent that I was paying here was a lot less than what I was paying over Richmond for almost the same type of living. Yes, the amenities are very reduced here, but the amenities that I was getting over Richmond, I'm living without them, and my life is just as great. So again, it's about your choices and what's important to you. Do you need a community pool? Do you need a community gym? Are you okay living without those things? Then your rent can be much cheaper than if you need to be in a development that has all of those things. As far as real estate in Jamaica is very expensive, but real estate everywhere right now is very expensive. So if you're looking to come to Jamaica to find cheap real estate, it's not gonna happen. The housing prices here has literally skyrocketed since I've been here, because I was looking for properties, and if you watch my real estate video, it was not an easy experience trying to find a house that was reasonably priced that made sense for me. So you're not going to come here and find a dirt cheap house. If you do, it's not going to be in the best of areas, or it's going to be much further inland, which there's nothing wrong with that if that's what you're looking for. So just keep in mind that you're going to spend money on real estate when you come to Jamaica. And definitely check out my video about the 5 reasons why I live in Jamaica, or the 7 things that you should think about before you come to live here. So those videos will kind of get you thinking about things that are important to most people and may make you adjust some things before you decide to come here. I'm back, guys. My camera overheated, so I have no idea what I was talking about probably like an hour ago. Over this past year, a lot of you guys have asked, like, hey, can I send you stuff? Can I give you some money? Can I help you out? For all the work that I've been doing with these videos, I do get the sense that, you know, there is value in it, and you guys want to kind of compensate me for the help that I've been giving you guys. But I've always said no, because my intent when I started this journey was really to fill that gap where I didn't have the answers. I wanted to provide the answers. That way I could help someone else who was in the same predicament that I was in when I wanted to transition back home to Jamaica. Now, along the same lines, you guys have also given me the ideas to, you know, start a consultation business. You guys have asked, hey, have you thought about doing this? Or, you know, why don't you do that? Or possibly, hey, why don't you incorporate this into your business model? I recently was talking to someone from one of my videos that reached out to me on Instagram. I can't remember her name. I think it might have been like Tammy. So shout out to Tammy for, you know, giving me input and insight into things that I can help you guys with as a part of this business. A lot of this came from you guys pouring into me. So if you're looking for ways to help support me as a person and help me out, some of the things that you can do is hitting a like button, pressing that share button, subscribing to my channel, tell your friends about me. Those are all things that you can freely do to support me that does not cost you anything. And of course, there's other ways that you can support me that will help me financially. And that is, I have a tour business, Jet Setting Tours, that book travel all over the world. Any of the trips that you've seen me gone on, whether it was to Europe or to Mexico or wherever, I've planned all of those trips. I'm also a travel advisor. So there's multiple ways that you can support me. These are things that you would probably do anyway, like book an excursion or book a trip when you come to Jamaica. I can do that for you. So that's another way that you can support me. Book a trip to Jamaica with me, of course, and I'll do your transportation, and I will also book your excursions and show you a good time and what Jamaica is really all about. The best form of marketing for a small business like mine is definitely referrals and word of mouth. So if you've used my business, recommend it to your friends or your family, or even a stranger who asks. It's always good coming from someone that has direct experience with the business. I know I value opinions of people that are close to me. So if I'm looking for something, I'm most likely going to ask a family member or a friend, or sometimes maybe even social media, who have you used and how was your experience? So if you have ever used any of my services, the best way to help me is to suggest me and my services to someone else. So to wrap this video up, how has my 1 year on YouTube making these videos been? I will say it's definitely been an experience for me. It wasn't the easiest transition for me personally because I'm not used to talking into a camera, and that took some adjustment. Of course, the more I did it, the more comfortable I got. And of course, you can see from the quality of the videos that I've been producing that I've learned from a lot of the mistakes that I've made. And of course, every now and then I get that, oh my God, does anyone care about anything that I'm saying in this video? Or is anyone going to even watch this video? I still have that. I'm having that right now. Like, does anything I'm talking about, do you guys even care? That is a major thought for me. So getting over that, and also making sure that I am comfortable with the topics that I'm talking about and that I feel knowledgeable enough to share information, that's always important to me. And I feel like I've gotten a lot more comfortable talking to you guys and bringing things to you guys. So has this year been better? Of course. I feel like the next year to come, the more comfortable I'm going to get, the better my content will be, the more information I can share with you guys. So I've learned a lot over the last year. I will say, on a positive note, this entire year I may have gotten 2 comments that I felt were not nice, but at the end of the day, my content is not for everyone. So take what you can from it and leave the rest. It's not for everybody. I'm not for everyone, and I understand that. We all have preferences as to what we want to watch or what we don't want to watch, but I appreciate all the people that actually watch and provide feedback that are constructive and positive, because this is not an easy task. This is very time consuming, and it is an additional task for someone that has a full-time job and businesses that I'm launching, and I'm building my life here in Jamaica. So it does make me feel a lot more encouraged to sit down and make these videos when I know that it does have an impact and that it's received well. So thank you guys for giving me that feedback. It does help me want to sit down and bring more to you guys because you guys appreciate it, and I know that it does something positive. And to the person that watched my video and said whatever they said about me being Jamaican or not Jamaican enough, at the end of the day, my passport and my birth certificate say Jamaica. So it don't matter how I talk, if I chat patois or if I speak English, none of that really matter, because at the end of the day, I'm still a Jamaican. Born at Jubilee Hospital, and can't nobody take that from me. So like what you like, don't like what you don't like. If you don't like the way that I talk, that's okay. You don't have to watch my video. You can go watch somebody else's video. So on that note, that's not gonna stop me. The negative energy was so minimal. It's unseen. I'm here. I got a purpose to serve. I'm not gonna win. I hope that you guys enjoyed this video because I feel like I enjoyed making it. I probably rambled on a little too much on certain things, but I definitely felt like it was things that were top of mind that I wanted to get out. And of course, I wanted to bring you guys information on my returning residence guide and also the checklist, but I also wanted to share some insight into the things that affect me as a Jamaican and as a returning resident. So hopefully it wasn't too much for you guys and I didn't scare anyone away. It helped you in some way. And if it did, go ahead and hit that like button. And of course, if you enjoy content that I create, please go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And as always, if you want to keep up with the videos that I'm posting, be sure to hit that notification bell. That way you'll know when I've posted my next video. Thank you so much for watching, and until next time, bye.